Well, hello. Welcome to another town hall. Concrete5, we're in the same town at the moment.
I've not been on camera in a while. This is
You and me together again. It's just like totally random. We could be snarky about mailing addresses. And
I've not been on camera in a while. What's that now?
That was weird.
Well, I think we had some mic feedback.
But we're still good.
We're ready to go. Keep going.
All right, well, a little bit of a new AV setup for us, so you have to bear with us. Let us know if we're messing up. I'm Franz. This is Andy. We've got Mike over there off camera, and Corbin, of course, driving the show. So I looking at our agenda here. Start straight up with some call-outs from help in GitHub, because been a lot of work in GitHub with new releases. So we got, do you want to talk about those guys up top?
Sure, yeah. We've, it's a very similar list to last month, just lots of killer work from concrete5 Japan. And then some, in particular, we've accepted pull requests from Guy Is You, Biplob, Mlokati, Hishi, SIFAOU 2019, Deke 87, and Yumina Kazawa. Just really kind of all over the place. A lot of focused work on API, sort of making the API more approachable for people to kind of start using, not just improving the actual methods available, but kind of helping to troubleshoot potential problem areas that people might have. So that's nice, because that makes it easier to believe that people will want to use it. So really great work there. Yeah, no huge showstopper since 8.5.2 that I've seen, which is great. But it's great to keep up the momentum, and I expect we'll have a point release for 8.5.3 sometime in the coming months. So nice work, guys.
Awesome. Thanks, Andy, and thank all of you as well. Similarly, I wanted to share my screen, if I can be so bold. Oh, God, here we go. Only one screen, so it's going to be a little Inception-y. You got that, Corbin? All right.
Yep, you're up.
Yes? Okay. So this is the Karma leaderboard that you can get to on concrete5.org. If you go to your My Account area, Karma, and then the upper right-hand corner, it says Weekly Winners. And you get points on concrete5.org for doing stuff, helping people, promoting the project, and doing actual work. And so you can see a lot of the same names that Andy just thanked, kind of leading up the Karma board here. Although there's some other star players here that are doing important stuff. There's Noor M. Enkele.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. I don't know who this is. Weber.
It's a new name.
New name to me. Weber Cancom. Very understandable. Well, thank you. Thank you for your help. And thank you, everybody. Not just the weekly winners from this week, but the winners from every week and everybody who has contributed anything, because it is very cool to be part of something bigger than yourself. And we certainly are with this. There's a really cool demo coming up later today that blows my mind in that capacity, but we'll get to that in a few minutes. All right, that's enough screen sharing on that. Can you cut back to me, or do I need to do something, Corbin?
You're back.
I'm back. Delightful. So, as Andy mentioned, we released 8.5.2.
Yes.
Anything exciting in that you want to talk about?
It was a pretty big. It's like update or don't, whatever. No, it was a pretty big release. You know, it's only a point release, so 8.5.1 to 8.5.2, but don't let that fool you. Due to our compliance kind of concerns, we kind of let the update release sort of lag a little bit. So there's actually a lot of things in there, and so definitely check that out. There's some bug fixes. There's a couple little feature improvements, and then just lots of tightening around the edges. And one thing I can say is that for such a large release, that it's been at least 5 or 6 months, usually when we do something like that, we have to pull the trigger on a point release relatively quickly after that, because there's just something we missed or something along those lines. Yeah. Like, oh, whoops, okay, 8.5.3 coming out quick. But no, actually this time, you know, there's definitely bugs and things to fix in there. But, you know, coming into GitHub, there's just lots of little things that are being found, but definitely no showstoppers as a result of all this new code. And I think that's probably a result of a more deliberate release candidate cycle, the new testing procedures that we have both in-house and with concrete5 Japan and the spreadsheet that they shared. And
that's
so
nice.
it's been really nice. It's a much more relaxing feeling than knowing that the other shoe's going to drop any day now. So 853 development is underway, but it's a much more relaxed pace than 852, and it's letting us focus on some bigger things down the road. So
nice, great. I know having that spreadsheet of integration tests to perform on a, hey, I installed concrete, latest version, can I still do X, Y, and Z?
Yeah.
And right now it's very bespoke and manual, so the more help we can get in Slack when it is time to do a release, the better. But we've got Mr. Mike Larson frantically worried about cucumbers and that type of thing, right?
Loving cucumbers and gherkins.
Yeah, there you go. So we're working on automating some of those tests as they prove to be more valuable, which I believe they did.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. In other news, cross that off. The reply by email feature in our bespoke forums is working again, so that's nice. Sorry about that. They're complicated systems. Lots of moving parts in there, and you were not getting, if you replied, you got the initial email, I think, but the reply buys were not getting in.
Yeah,
so
it felt like it
awkward.
worked. So,
yeah.
Yes.
But all fixed, and you should get a bunch of replies if you haven't already. Which segues well to just a quick update on the community rebuild stuff that we've been working on. Lots of exciting stuff happening here. Not a tremendous amount to show today because we want to be pretty mature before we show it. But we have been able to free up Gary and get him working on new branding and a whole new style for what we're doing on the community stuff. And that's very exciting. You're good, Thomas. Come on in.
This is a working office.
This is a working office. People will come and go. That's okay. We can get stuff done. So that's exciting. We've all seen it. We're all super stoked. You don't get to see it yet, but you will, and you'll like it. There has been some discourse on discourse for the forums.
So this is big news.
This is big news, so I'll take a moment to slow down. So our mission is to make digital communication easy and good for everyone. And we get excited about that. That's what we want to be doing, and that's why we're here. So it's always tempting to kind of take on as many problems as we can, like that somehow fit with that. And certainly, I grew up on BBSs, and like the idea of a forum is appealing. That said, there's kind of the practical challenge of, look, there's only so many problems you can solve well, and we really want to make sure that the tools that we are launching as part of the community rebuild version 4 are all super solid. So to me, there's a number of different ways that we communicate already. We spend more time in Slack than in forums ourselves these days. I think everybody kind of knows, you want to get a hold of us, it's easiest to find us in Slack. Forums are still an important part of any open source project, but kind of having internal discussions about it, we felt like the measure of success for forums would be, does it feel like BBS? Are they forums? It's kind of a known goal, and we would be building towards somebody else's spec that was designed 30 years ago for 1200 baud modems. And that's cool, like that thing should exist. If I had infinite time and resources, I would build forums, and then I would also build Q&A interfaces on top and feed interfaces on top and upvoting and downvoting and all that stuff. But we do not have infinite resources or time, and we have to do things like the marketplace. We have to do stuff like the SaaS hosting that we're talking about as well. This one seems like an easy buy instead of build, if you will. So we've done some looking around at, well, what are the sexier forum solutions out there? We are looking very closely at Discourse right now, which is a Ruby on Rails platform, as I understand it. Yeah, but it's open source. We can host it. So if we need to fork it, we can. My hope is that we don't. That we can make it work with single sign-on, kind of bring it together into the concrete community that we're doing. This decentralized approach, services-based, makes a lot of sense. From my perspective, as long as we can bring in achievements from that forum, because you can mark answers as like or post as like an answer, and you can do some of that stuff in there.
Yeah.
So as long as we can bring in some of the points that you would get out of that and get you karma points for that in the Concrete5 world, I'd like to.
Yeah, because this is we're not talking about getting rid of our user profile section either. That's still a huge portion of the new site, and that ties into really everything about the community section of the community site. So this is really just the subset of the site that functions as the forum specifically. So the sort of forum feed, the discussion landing pages, the posts themselves. There's just a lot to do there. And while we have discussions in the core and we have conversations in the core, it's like Franz said, we could, with a bit of work inside of a month or two, we could definitely bring much of what we have in the current site in line with our version 8. But that means other things take longer, and it still only gets you 70 to 80% of the way. And kind of the reply by email thing and all those little pieces that you kind of see, it's like there's more than just the 80% that we are pretty close on. So better to go with a fully realized platform for that one specific problem, we think, so that we can spend much more time on, making the marketplace work really well for
maintaining it as much of a problem as building it. I guess the other key points are, this is not the only space where people are communicating around Concrete5.
Yeah.
So I think strategically for us, it's more important to get the integrations working. So if you're active on GitHub issues, that adds to your profile on Concrete. If people ask questions on Stack Overflow, no one answers them. So there's a Concrete5 on Reddit. No one's there. So it's like we should be integrating these different platforms together. My account on Concrete5 should really be about centralizing your contribution to the project across all these different channels. And all that aside, it's healthy for the project if we have integration partners. So, the more things we can look at and say, oh, that if someone's looking for a forum, there's a good forum, this drags and drops, and let's make the single sign-on thing open source and grab it from the marketplace. That's good for everybody. So certainly doesn't mean that 5 years from now we wouldn't want to say, oh, that was cool, we're rebuilding it all because we really are excited about building forums now. We've got the time, money, and interest to do it. It is close to our hearts, but it is one where we're just gonna have to I think, play with somebody else's code instead of write it all ourselves.
Absolutely.
So there's the thinking on that. I'm looking forward to some back and forth on it. Check. Quick talk about the SaaS hosting stuff. We'll see if I can share my screen again, VJ Corbin. So just one snap of many wireframes that I'm not going to bother showing. But we've been doing a lot of work around providing a best-of-breed, cloud-based software as a service hosting solution for Concrete5. So think what Pantheon does for Drupal and WordPress. We want you to be able to spin up different instances of your site on I think we're using Docker at this point. We've agreed on containers that are siloed from a performance standpoint, but follow best practices from us. Protect the core, so it's your changes are all based in overrides and easy to manage. You would be able to merge from Git into an instance and deploy it all with the clicks of a couple of buttons from your My Account area. Would handle things like rolling backups and restore, all the stuff you would have to do. We talked about this a little bit last month. I kind of gave a high-level presentation, but we've been working on it. You can see there's wireframes. We've been doing some prototyping around the actual back end, and we have it working. We've got Concrete5 running and Docker containers and the bare bones of like, well, how would this work? Those answers are pretty clear, and we're getting more into kind of specifics. So I'm very excited about that.
There's one question from Stu Black about that. He said that in regards to the potential Concrete5 cloud environment, will you be able to use it as an intranet for clients that maybe want it behind a firewall?
Well, you'd be able to use it as an intranet because you can lock down Concrete5 in any number of ways. Behind a firewall is going to be a little trickier out of the box.
Or like a VPN?
Think like not 100% what that means. Like I could see. Well, I mean, I guess I could say I take a step back. We're building this as a very much with the idea that you would be able to set one of these things up and run with it, in real time without any kind of back and forth or custom setup. Right. This is replacing simple sites, and is geared to be a competitive hosting offering that anyone could use. So, could we also host something that has heightened security controls and is locked down behind any number of different authentication mechanisms? Well, absolutely. And we host stuff for the Army. So the answer is 100% yes. Would that perhaps involve a phone call or an email and an upgrade to a black level package, if you will? Probably. Like that's probably a custom support contract. Doesn't have to mean it would be ridiculously expensive. Just I don't know if we would out of the gate look at automating that kind of deploy. Now that said, I could see that becoming something that we would over time do. I know Katz and Gang in Japan do a lot of intranet work with concrete5, and I think, as a platform, we position ourselves well when we say, look, concrete5 is a building material for making robust sites that do things, and that often involves, and it's somewhat secure. It's behind, some kind of lockdown setup. So it's a good question. Yes, perhaps not with a magic click out of the gate, but yeah, we'd like to.
Cool.
And I would encourage more questions on that. There is a forum thread in Chit Chat. I'm pretty easy to find. Just search for Franz, FRZ in the community. We are definitely looking to structure this in a way where it is appealing to all of you web shops that are suffering through Plesk and cPanel setups and spending more and more of your time managing bespoke installs that are on hybrid custom versions that can't be upgraded. We understand that pain. We spent a lot of time solving it at kind of a large scale for Department of Defense, and we would like to solve it on kind of a commercial scale for everybody. For that to make sense and to work, it'd be really cool if we had buy-in from people who are choosing other platforms for hosting now. The more input I can get from those folks, from you folks, certainly around pricing and where those price points would be, where you all can make a buck as partners and we can pay for all these lights. So many lights right now. I believe it's there, but the more interest we have together, the better. So there's that on that. All right. I think that's enough of my screen, BJ Corbin. Next up, we're going to talk about containers. Okay.
Naming things is so hard because we just got done talking about Docker containers. Here,
different containers.
It's a completely different concept.
Sorry. Well, and happily, we've gone through like 400 different names on this.
This is the last name.
Let's see. A quick intro. We have no visual aids for this, so this is going to be awesome. And we don't want to go too long, too dark into too confusing stuff.
Yeah.
So I will give a quick rundown of what the problem is, and you can add detail if you choose. We have found over time that a lot of the chops that we do in concrete5 for folks, we are thinking from a very functional standpoint as opposed to a design standpoint. And sometimes that's a little bit backwards. So often we will end up getting comps from a designer, and there will be some type of layout where maybe it's just, it looks like a page list. It's just, it's title and a paragraph and maybe a little thumbnail. And you as a developer will look at it and go, oh, okay, that's a page list template, no problem. I'm just going to chop this out and I make this a custom template for the page list block. And then you give it to a client and they say, this is great. I love the way it just automatically lists pages. How do I add a link to a third-party URL in the middle? And you kind of, well, maybe with a offsite alias link, I don't know. And then you end up having to use the same presentation code to skin a completely different block. Now you're using the build a link list add-on from the marketplace, but the presentation code is kind of regenerated every time. You got to apply this and maybe tweak it to kind of deal with what the front end implied would be universal, but from a developer's perspective you're kind of thinking about it with the how would you say, kind of the engineering first as opposed to the design first.
So underlying data objects as opposed to what it looks like.
So with that kind of problem and kind of the idea of reusing this front end stuff a bit more, we're introducing this idea of containers. Does that help at all?
Yeah,
really, that makes it worse.
I think so. I mean, that it's. Here's one particular use case that we're trying to solve with this. In the building websites with concrete5 docs that are coming, that we are currently proofreading the first half of. We work with the open source theme called Dreamers, which you may have seen if you watch some of those videos. And that particular theme, if you look at it, is very much, each one of the different pages is sort of segmented into these different sections of content. And so on the home page, you may have this area that is like, here's a picture on the left, here's a headline, here's a piece of content underneath. And, if you're looking at that, as a concrete5 developer, you look at it and say like, oh, well, that's an image block, that's a title, that's a content block. I don't have to build any new functionality for this. But then if you actually look at the HTML that the theme, because this is an open source theme, or maybe this is HTML delivered to you by someone chopping a theme for you. You actually look at the HTML and it's like, oh, this is actually not that easy, because it's not just those 3 atomic bits of content. It's actually a whole bunch of bespoke HTML around it, including like custom classes, custom IDs inside a section tag. And so you can't get away with just chopping. You can't get away with just adding these 3 pieces of content to the page, because the only way that's going to work is if you make a special custom page template called the About Page template, and it's really super fixed and rigid, and there's this section at the top that can never change, and you can never add any content beneath it, and it's really going to always look like this. And then you can add your 3 content blocks, but if a client comes on and says, okay, I want now the testimonials thing from a different page, I want that at the bottom here, you're like, I can't do that. I have to make a new page template that is About Page with testimonials under it. And at that point, it's not really the spirit of the page template. So to get around this in the past, we've used the excellent Block Designer block builder by Ramon Leenders, and it's awesome, and it lets you build blocks quickly based on fields. So we would create an About stripe block or something, which would be a collection of an image, a headline, and a piece of content, and then we would tweak the output HTML to have all the special section tags and the classes and stuff. And then you could put that anywhere. But then the moment that a client says, okay, now I want another image underneath, they'd be like, I gotta either fork this block or add a new thing to it and regenerate it. And you're thinking to yourself, I don't really need a block for this. I already have the 2 blocks I need to do this. What I need is a second layer between the page template and the sort of atomic bits of content that can kind of hold all this stuff. And you can't do it with layouts, because layouts really just break things into columns, and they don't do rows underneath. They don't do any kind of advanced sort of more custom column classes or any other classes.
The interface doesn't really.
Yeah, they are good for what they do, but they were never built to solve this problem. So if you search GitHub, there's an excellent issue that kind of gets to this problem from a couple of years ago, that if you search for partial, you'll find it, because that's a term that some web developers use. Basically the idea is, could we not have a system whereby we could add what we are calling containers into a page that hold sort of sub areas into bespoke HTML, not just the column frameworks from Bootstrap Grid or whatever. Let us craft the HTML that we want, all the classes, all the container classes, all the columns go here and there, one to many, different rows underneath, and then let us add that like it were a block, and then add blocks inside it. So that is one of the aspects of containers that I'm excited about, just because I think it will dramatically improve the workflow of the average concrete5 theme developer and person who has to integrate themes with an actual concrete5 site. There are more impressive and sort of exciting aspects
there's more
to containers than just that, but
that's enough
I think that those will benefit from a visual aid.
The whole thing will benefit from a
visual
visual
aid. That is kind of one of the many aspects of it that we're excited about.
It's very cool. It's kind of the big new thing in the next major version of concrete, and working on it now. We'll have something to share before long. So look forward to that.
Yeah.
All right. We'll just leave that.
There's a little feedback from Jay Steele says that the containers sound very, in bold, helpful.
Oh, awesome.
They should be very helpful. That's the goal. That's in the requirement somewhere. This should be very, very helpful. Awesome. Well, I'm glad. That's actually nice to hear that like any of that made sense to anyone. Cool. Corbin, let's go back to my screen. BJ Corbin in his house. We're looking at a cool site. So if you don't submit your best work to the community showcase, you should. We built it, and it'd be really nice if you submitted your best work in it. We're taking the time to wander through there and pick something out that we think is dead sexy every month and talk about a little bit, including the shop that built it, because, hey, good work. I believe most of us watching know that you can build anything that you want with concrete, and you can probably build anything that you want with most CMSs these days. But an awful lot of clients, prospective clients I run into, are like, "Well, show me something that's just like what I want." I'm like, okay. So that's what we're doing here. This is a pretty cool looking website for the Armenian Culture Appreciation Association. It's all in French, and I don't have the French, but maybe it will translate here for me in a second. This was a lot better when it was translating. Here we go. Select language. I sadly only speak English. There we go. This is the Armenian Heritage Center, CPA. So, pretty cool looking site. Does some nice, I like all the concrete work on the outside of their building, obviously. Has some cool little interface moments that this kind of stuff throbs a little bit when you go over it. And a lot of weird overlay stuff that looks like it was probably a nightmare to deal with. And pretty cool part of the world. So this is actually in France. Armenia is an interesting country. They are kind of right in between the Middle East and Europe, and very mountainous, and they have a lot of metals in those mountains. So like from Roman times on, they've basically been like in between great powers and pretty much constantly getting it from both ends. So a lot of Armenians left the country at the end of World War I when the Ottoman Empire was not very nice to them. And so I think there's actually more Armenians around the world than there are in Armenia at this point. And so this is a cultural center and kind of one of the spots that a lot of Armenians have landed in kind of southern France that talks about the journey and how the Ottomans were not very nice and stuff like that. But pretty cool museum site. Definitely worth showing a institutional client that wants to see something sexy but professional. And I was impressed.
Yeah.
Built by this agency, French agency. Systematic, like systematic, but systematic. Yeah. I just got that. But this is cool. This also is a concrete5 site.
Oh, nice. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, no, this is all kinds of scrolly, sassy. So I got a bunch of museum work. And it looks like they're just full service shop, like website that's part of what they do, not all of it. Cool menu structure here. Give me the menu. Ooh, wow. Yeah, right?
It's a nice slide.
Yeah, they got all sorts of pretty cool stuff going on in here. Our work, case studies, gun designs. Maybe that didn't translate properly. Or maybe it did. That's cool. Either way. Yeah. If you change website. Yeah. So, cool. Yeah. Awesome. Hi, systematic.fr. Good job.
Yeah,
we appreciate your work. Thank you for building cool sites and using concrete5. And thank you for submitting your stuff to the showcase. You too should submit your stuff to the showcase, and we'll call you out. All right, boom, 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 crossing stuff off.
We have one more question about
Please.
containers before we get going too far.
Okay.
There's a lot of activity in there. Both Catalysis and Stu Black are asking how containers work with layouts. Catalysis asks, containers make total sense and moves to solve a very real problem. How will it tie in with the various options for layouts, or will it replace layouts?
That's an excellent question. We've kind of tossed that around the office for sure, because they are related. Right now, they just kind of augment layouts. There's no plan to get rid of layouts. This is all in a branch that is also powered by Bootstrap 4. So everything is pretty, it's very much like a disassembled car at this point. So everything looks pretty wild. It looks like a concrete5 through a funhouse mirror a little bit. So a lot of things like layouts and stuff with the draggable handles, like they just don't even work in this branch. So as we put these things back together, we may have to make decisions about how that stuff works, just if Bootstrap 4 doesn't work the same way as Bootstrap 3, for example. But right now, there's no plans for this to replace layouts. I don't see them going away, because anytime we take anything goes away, and you know, then they solve different problems too. So I would expect these to, you know, for a site that is really nicely designed and where the web developer controls all the aspects and really wants to lock down the client, they're probably going to turn layouts off, and they may end up using this to build a fair amount of the functionality. And then the client won't even know that layouts exist. But right now, there's no plans to get rid of layouts. This is going to just be another tool in the toolbox.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Layouts are really designed for something that happened after the fact. Oh, I've got this wide page. I need to add a column just because I had this idea. Whereas this is really more supporting the idea of atomic design, kind of starting from the bottom up and having really strict design controls around your content elements that then, as you add them together in different ways, kind of define the brand. concrete5 is just so page-based right now that it's a challenge to do that. So that's really what containers are for.
Okay. There's one extra little follow-on kind of going off in this direction. If it's using Bootstrap 4, does that mean concrete5 is switching to SaaS?
It is. There's some big problems. There's big opportunities. There's some challenges here for things like theme customization, and we want to look at those bits of functionality again with fresh eyes to make sure that the customizer that we have that demos extremely nicely is actually something compelling and something that you would actually want to use.
Do any of you use that?
Yeah, it's tough. It's so scary. The idea, like the fact that you can blow away your customization so easily makes it that we never use it. It's too scary. So it demos extremely well. I'm not sure that it's the best option in an actual real world site that is actually managed by clients. Like if you're managing your own site, you can probably trust yourself not to click the wrong button, but we would never use that in production. So as we start to move to SaaS, we have to make decisions on the theme customizer because that's all built in less anyway. And in the past, there have been some problems with PHP not having a SaaS compiler built in PHP that we could use. I think that has actually been fixed. I found a library that might work for that. But yeah, so we have to worry about that stuff in the future. That's not something we're worried about right now. But in a general sense, yes, we are using SaaS in the build process. We're using SaaS to build all the custom concrete5 style sheets. All of those CMS style sheets and stuff have been ported to SaaS as part of this. And yeah, we're saying goodbye to less in the core build process, and we have to figure out what we're doing for the theme customizer. Yeah. So yeah, the answer is yes.
Exciting changes.
Yeah.
The conversation.
Oh, that's great. Well, we'll get on top of sharing something about it.
Yeah.
Any other questions that we want to cover before we?
It looks like that's it. There are some people typing, but.
All right. Well, we'll come back. We'll have a little bit more time for Q&A at the end. But while we still have, we have plenty of time. We have a marvelous show and tell video that was submitted by Michele, and you know him as M. Locati, and he is a superhero of the concrete5 community. He is also halfway around the world, so was not able to join us in person today, but he did put together this very cool video about a free add-on. It's remarkably beefy, so again, shocking that it's free, but absolutely appreciate it. In broad strokes, I'll introduce it as if you are running a bunch of sites or servers and you need to manage certificates that you're going to make through Let's Encrypt, but you kind of want a certificate deployment solution. This is for you. It's not, doesn't just add a certificate to the site that you've installed the add-on on. It goes out and does certificate wheeling and dealing.
Wow.
And my CISO just turned her chair around, took her glasses off, and stared at me. I think it's safe. It's not on any of our sites.
Yeah.
It looks really cool.
And
did we figure out how to play the thing?
I hope so.
Fire away.
I know. I want to
mean,
see it.
we waited until November because Michele usually has a schedule conflict, but he said he might be able to join in November, but then at the last minute couldn't, so he made the video, and hopefully this will work. So you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, and Corbin's got the microphones under control, so
let's fix it. If this gets weird, we'll fix it.
Hello everybody, I am Michele. I'm located almost everywhere, Slack, GitHub, concrete5, forums, and so on. And I'm here to present you this pretty nice add-on you can find in the concrete5 marketplace. It's called Acme. It's free. It's open source. You can find it also on GitHub. There's a link in the dashboard page. And it lets you to create HTTPS certificates for free using the Acme protocol. Using the Let's Encrypt services, or also other services that implement the Acme protocol. Let's start from the basis. I will show you how to use this add-on. First, I registered my domain, mlocati.cloud, and I'm going to create it in my VPS. I create the directory structure. I create a very simple website content. It works in the index file. And I configure the permissions. I define the website for Nginx, which responds to mlocati.cloud with and without the www, to the port 80. Standard HTTP protocol. Save. I enable this website, reload the Nginx configuration. That's it. My website should be up at the HTTP protocol with and without the www. So we created the website. I would like to add the HTTPS protocol. And so I need the certificate. I downloaded the Acme package into concrete5. I go to extend concrete5 and install the package. During the installation, it checks for some required PHP extensions. Those are not required, but improve the performance a lot. Install. It may take a while because it installs a few pages. We'll see them later. That's it. The package is installed. It allows you to define the Acme server you want to use. You can use test servers, staging servers, or the production servers. The version 1 of Let's Encrypt doesn't accept accounts anymore. So I go with the Let's Encrypt. I create an account at the Let's Encrypt server. Create account. That's it. I can go to the Acme dashboard section. You can find it under the System and Settings Acme dashboard page. Here you can see the defined Acme servers. We defined one, Let's Encrypt. The Acme accounts, we defined one. And we can see all the other data that's handled by the package. My website is on a remote VPS server. This is my development machine. So I need to connect to the remote server. So I define a new remote server. add remote server, give it a name of my choice, VPS. It's available at this address. And how can we connect to the server? Via FTP or SFTP protocol. I suggest to use the SFTP protocol because later on we need to reload the Nginx configuration. The FTP protocol doesn't allow you to execute remote commands. So it's better to use one of the SFTP protocols. Sorry, one moment, I configure it from my own server. I won't show you my data, sorry. One moment. Okay. Save. That's it. It's saved. Now I can define the domains for the HTTPS certificate. The domains are defined here, and you simply enter the domain name. It checks for deviation problems. I won't explain you the details of it, but it checks for security problems that may be related to international charters. Here is an example, but my domain name is the standard one. Now the domain is on a remote server, which is in my VPS, and the web root directory is here. Save. I define first the www domain. It connects to remote server, checks the permission, directory permissions, and I define also the domain without the W prefix. Same as before, my VPS, cloud, save. Okay, I defined the two domains. Now I can define the certificate. The certificate will be one for both domain. We define the www domain as primary domain. Each certificate may contain more than one certificate, but you can define the primary one. I define this one. Save. Now we still don't have the HTTPS certificate. We need to generate it. But before generating it, we need to define some actions. I mean, when you generate a certificate, you have to upload it to the remote web server and reload the Nginx configuration or Apache configuration, whatever you use. So we say that after creating the certificate, we want to save the certificate private key here, and the certificate and the certificate here. Here you find some suggestions about the web server, which files are required by which web server. And next, once the files have been uploaded, we'll need to run service Nginx reload to let Nginx reload the new certificate or the renewed certificate. Save and done. Now we are ready to generate the certificate. Generate certificate. It may take a while. It's contacting Let's Encrypt. It's asking him to authorize the domain to generate the certificate. Okay. We submitted the order for a new certificate. Okay. Let's Encrypt authorized the use of the two domains. The certificate has been created, and the action uploaded the two files and executed the command Nginx service Nginx reload, which didn't output anything. Okay, so we have to reconfigure our website adding the SSL protocol, standard HTTPS port, same domain names, and now we have the two certificate files. Save and reload the configuration. Now we should have, now we should have the website available at the HTTPS address. Here it is. Let's view the details about the certificate. More information, view certificate. Let's encrypt. Nice. This also works for the domain without the www. Here it is. Nice. The package also offers a lot of CLI commands. Here's the full list of these commands. You can define the Acme servers, the Acme accounts, define, list, delete, modify, everything. You can define the domains. You can define the certificates. For example, we want to list the certificate, the domain. We want to list the defined certificates. We want the details about the certificate. Everything is there. The most useful command is for sure the certificate refresh, which is studied to be put in a cron tab, a cron job, so that the renewal of the certificates is automatic. I mean, the HTTPS certificates generated by the Let's Encrypt last for about 90 days. So you should have to remember to renew the certificates, to renew them a few days before their expiration. So it's better to schedule this command. For example, you can call it like this. No action to be executed because the certificate is not going to expire. There are no actions to be performed. We can force the execution of the actions, that is uploading the certificate files and restarting the Nginx web server. We can also force the generation of new certificates. Sorry. Even if it's not going to expire soon, with a force renew option. The same process as we saw in the web interface. Renewed, files upload. Here it is. The package also offers a few logs about what happened, about their certificates. You can see the details. You can download the internal stuff. I mean, the certificate in binary, in PAN format, the private key. You can view the renewal history. This is the first one we ran in the web interface. This is via the CLI interface. When a certificate is renewed, the previous one, for security reason, is revoked. So here we see the first certificate, the one which we generated in the web interface, which has been expired, which has been revoked, sorry. And that's it. I mean, I developed this package for the company where I work for, and we are using it at the moment to maintain the certificate for about 42 websites. And yeah, it works. And I hope it will work will be helpful for some of you also. Thank you. See you. Ciao. Ciao.
It's the sexiest Concrete 5 demo I've ever seen, like in every capacity.
The voice.
I mean, your English is dramatically improving, Michele, and I feel like I was just like in an artisan craft shop in Florence, and they're like making leather or something. I got like here's how you build stuff with is fantastic, and the add-on, crap.
Yeah, it's true.
Like what else could it possibly do? But
And it's free.
and it's free.
Yeah, very full featured. Yeah, no holes. Yeah, seems, yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you.
Really great job.
Fantastic. Great job. Thank you for putting the demo together. I'm sure people are going to go
They
play
will
with
use
that. Like it,
Yeah,
and
that is an annoying aspect of, I mean, every website needs SSL these days. And
yeah, and the
it
fact that you
is-
can do it in one spot and
Yeah.
push them everywhere, like
yeah, it's great.
very
We have
cool.
Positive feedback in the channel as well, saying how impressive it is. And Jay still just says, "Wow!" exclamation mark.
Yeah.
Don't doubt it.
Wow,
really
indeed. Yeah. God, I'm so relaxed now. I don't know what to do.
The only negative I could point out is he didn't show us his password. So, but other than that, it was really impressive.
Oh yeah, I know he had the other screen going. I mean, everything was perfect. Perfect. Do we have any other questions? Or can we all go to bed now? It's like an ASMR video.
It was very relaxed.
was
I'm not seeing anything new. Dude, see any Corbin? Any questions?
Stu Black had a clarification question about what we were just seeing with Michele's demo. I'm not sure if that was answered for him or not, but his question was, is this something that's meant to be used with multi-site installs, or can it be used with multi-site installs? My understanding is that this is a tool that you would install on one Concrete 5 site and use to manage either other Concrete 5 sites or even, non-Concrete 5 sites. There's nothing Concrete 5 specific. So you can manage SSL certificates basically for a web root, regardless of what you have in there.
That's the way it looked to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's multi-site insofar as it, like you said, could handle many different websites, but it doesn't appear to really tie into anything necessarily related to the host Concrete 5 site, except as a place to.
But if you had your domains pointing at a single
Yeah.
install and that was all proper,
It
then you
totally
could
worked.
deploy certs for all those domains to
Yeah.
that third-party server.
So-
It is a certificate deployment solution.
Yeah, it's great.
That's great. All right. Well, any other cues to A? Otherwise, we're going to get back to the work. Sweet. Well, there it is. Thank you very much. We'll see you again in a month, and we'll try to get some stuff up about containers in between now and then, and update you on how the community stuff is coming together as well. Don't forget to reach out to me if you've got any questions, thoughts, desires, hopes, or really hate the idea of us having a cloud-based software as a service hosting solution. Just more input I can get, the better.
The
So
link in the channel for the discussion thread.
Nice.
there you go. Should be easy to find. Thank you very much.
Cool.
See you
Thank
again
you.
next time.
Thanks, everybody. See you next time.
Bye-bye.